Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We will present about how do you see the impact of COVID-19 to the national economy.
This is our group members. My name is Noor binti Muhammad Puad.
My name is Noor binti Khairul Azmi.
My name is Siti Nurashadla binti Muhammad Fikri.
And my name is Zahima Wafi binti Zulkifli. For the content 1.0 introduction, 2.0 concept, 3.0 impact COVID-19 towards national economy, 4.0 government action to navigate the risk of COVID-19, 5.0 how Islam guides Muslims in facing this prospect, and the last 6.0 conclusion. First 1.0 introduction. This outbreak was happening in December 2019, started in Wuhan city in Hubei province of China. This coronavirus, similar to severe acute respiratory syndrome (SARS) and Middle East respiratory syndrome (MERS). The outbreak of coronavirus has disrupted the global economy because the disease spreads rapidly, including Malaysia. The spread of this outbreak has given a negative impact on the Malaysia economic sector such as tourism, commerce and investment industry. This is will explained by Farhana and Muslimah. Next, I will move to the 2.0 concept. According to the World Health Organization, coronavirus disease is a contagious illness caused by a newly discovered coronavirus. Someone who have infected by the COVID-19 virus will have mild to moderate respiratory disease and recover without requiring special treatment. The disease is easily transmitted to the senior citizen and those with underlying health problems like chronic respiratory disease, diabetes, cancer, and so on. Due to the increasing number of cases day by day, the government had announced movement control order to overcome this outbreak, which is restriction on the entry of all foreign tourists and visitors into the country, and second, closing of all government and private premises except those involved in essential service. Based on these two orders, we can see that it will give bad impact to individual and national economy. According to the MCO, employees of government and private companies that are not essential are advised to close their premises. Small and medium enterprises are expected to be adversely affected by government decisions. And last, about Perhatian Raya economic stimulus package worth 250 billion ringgit Malaysia that announced Prime Minister that will benefit everyone. The Perhatian package will provide immediate assistance to ease the burden faced by Malaysia due to this outbreak.
Now, let's continue with the impact of COVID-19 towards global economy. I will explain to you the impact on tourism industry in Malaysia. As a fact that tourism is currently the highest contributor to economic growth in our country, the World Tourism Organization defines tourism more generally as beyond the common perception of tourism as being limited to holiday activity only. But by the early of 21st century, international tourism had become one of the world's most important economic activities, and its impact was becoming increasingly through all of country. On the right side is some of the impact on our tourism industry in Malaysia. This is the impact of COVID-19 on tourism industry in Malaysia, how SARS and MERS coronavirus affected tourism industry. This disease of SARS has given the big impact to several service sectors in China, and the tourism industry was hit the hardest. The figure 1 shows you the estimate loss of revenue in 2003 attributable to SARS for tourism-related sectors in Beijing. There are similar situations that had happened to tourism industry in Malaysia regarding the SARS disease. For your information, during 2003, Malaysia imposed a week-long travel restriction on travelers from mainland China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and the other Asian countries following to the outbreak of this disease. The figure 2 shows you the impact on SARS on tourist arrival from China. According to Tourism Malaysia figures that the total number of tourists from all countries to Malaysia fell by 10.57 million compared to 30.31 million the year before. However, the fall in China tourist arrival, which started in January 2003, had recovered by November. Regarding the MERS coronavirus, the World Health Organization recommended to make an information on general travel health precautions, and WHO also advised travelers with pre-existing medical condition and has advised the travelers to avoid close contact with animals and avoid the place where the virus is potentially circulating.
Okay, impact on commerce industry in Malaysia. First, the small and medium businesses in the country have announced that they expect zero cash flow over the next 3 months due to the lockdown. Besides, the World Bank has also cut Malaysian gross domestic product (GSP) growth rate from 4.5% to negative 0.1% in 2020 impact of COVID-19 pandemic. Second, to reduce the dealer loss, essential services are still allowed to remain open during movement control order, period. This include banking, electricity, prisons, healthcare, and so on. Moreover, restaurants and supermarkets are still operating because of the government want to ensure that daily necessities are always on the market and sufficient for Malaysians. Its impact on investment industry in Malaysia. First, Bursa Malaysia Berhad or Exchange had announced a new set of relief measures target to help the investors. First, rebate of 50% of the annual listing fees for the year 2020, which have a market capitalization below 500 million ringgit as at December 31. Second, by extension of time for submission of Central Depository System (CDS) transaction forms in 2 ways, which is transaction performed between March 2 to March 31 are granted an extension of time for submission by April 30. Then transaction performed between April 1 to April 30 are granted an extension of time for submission by May 29. Second, the Bank Negara Malaysia (BNM) announced a cut in the statutory reserve ratio (SRR) by 100 basis points to 2% on March 19. BNM also released 30 billion ringgit into the banking system. SARS and MERS-CoV impact on economy. China's economic slowdown during the SARS-CoV. SARS outbreak dragged down China's growth from 11.1% to 9.1% year-over-year in the first quarter of 2003 in the following 3 months. Fall in retail sales growth. Growth in retail sales moderate to 4.3% in May 2003. It's again suffered the most, especially after Chinese government locked down cities and restrict travel within the country. Okay, next, MERS-CoV effect Republic of Korea on 2015. Korean Tourism Organization has reported that 2.1 million non-citizen visitors have already cancelled their travels plan to the region due to the outbreak and lost with $2.6 million. Moreover, accommodation, food and beverage services and transportation sector estimate losses around $1,007 million because of the decrease of non-citizen visitors.
Regarding the novel coronavirus disease, a lot of sectors in our country, especially on travel industry, hotel industry, business and others has been affected. So, what is our government action in order to prevent this disease from making the sectors getting worse? As you can see on the left side is the news regarding the 2020 economic stimulus package by our interim Prime Minister. Meanwhile, on the right side is the news regarding our Prime Minister's speech on additional Perhatian Small Medium Enterprise Economic Stimulus Package. Economic Stimulus Package 2020 are valued 20 billion ringgit Malaysia, which will be separate to 3 strategies. The first strategy is to decrease the impact of COVID-19, the next one is to catalyzing fourth-century economic growth, and the last one is to promote the quality of investment. For the assistance of affected individuals, government give 600 ringgit Malaysia each to taxi drivers, tourist bus drivers, tourist guides and registered rickshaw drivers. Besides, our government also give a special monthly critical allowance of 400 ringgit Malaysia to medical doctors and nurses. The second strategy is to catalyze fourth-century economic growth. For example, the payment of 200 ringgit Malaysia to all bantuan sara hidup recipient will be forward and the additional 100 ringgit Malaysia will be transferred to all BHS recipients. The last strategy is to promoting quality of investment. For example, to enhance greater national competitiveness, government will promote higher value-add private sector investment through a tax deduction of up to 300,000 ringgit Malaysia on renovation and refurbishment costs. As this disease outbreak getting worse day by day, our ninth Prime Minister of Malaysia, Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, announced the new Prihatin Rakyat Economic Stimulus Package. This package is valued 250 billion ringgit Malaysia to ensure the welfare of folks and all community is guaranteed. This package also approved 6-month lease exemption on premises owned by federal government, and there are several special packages will be offered in collaboration with the telecommunication and multimedia industry. For example, the free internet will be given to all customers.
How Islam guide Muslims in facing up this prospect. So firstly, we must have faith in Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, which is Sharia govern a Muslim to attribute determination on his belief to Allah, whether the good things or bad things happen in life comes from Allah. Second, contribute an effort before fully give up. Related to the issue of COVID-19, we must do prevention and seek for the cure. For example, follow comments given by government or the authority person in charge, such as Ministry of Health, Malaysia, MOH, PDRM, and others. And the third, we must have morality and rational thinking. As a Muslim consumer, the economic satisfaction must be alert once it against with any demand of Islamic spirit. Later, life up the ethical values that could enhance positively with faith dimension and leads to the individual fair with his or her community and inspire the community to be fair with its individual quality, habits, and nature. So here is the sources from the Quran related how Islam going to face the conjecture or pandemic disease in Islamic perspective. Meaning, O you who have believed, obey Allah and His Messenger and those in authority among you, and if you disagree over anything, refer it to Allah and the Messenger. If you should believe in Allah and the last day, that is the best way and best in result. So Allah stated in the Quran, we must to obey the authority among us and have faith in Allah in any cases happen in our life, which is the government declare movement control order, and we must obey that order. Second, the sources from the hadith that can be related how Islam guide to face the conjecture of pandemic disease in Islamic perspective. Narrated by Muslim, meaning I have knowledge of this, I heard Allah Messenger says, when you heard it, an outbreak somewhere, do not go to it, and when it happens in the place where you are in it, do not go out of it. So in order to avoid greater harm due to the outbreak or pandemic disease, Islam merged us with the hadith above as the best solution to protect maslahah of the people. Secondly, from Abu Dawud, meaning seek for the treat. Indeed, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala does not bring a disease unless it is also passed down the cure, except one disease, which is the illness. In case of the COVID-19 related to the hadith above, Islam need to find the cure first, seek for the treatment, and consult with the authority person in charge as and our effort before fully give up our affair to the Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. So the last one is the sources related to the Qawaid Fiqhiyah, which is under the legal maxim, harm should not be inflicted, not reciprocated, la dara wala dirar. So related to the issue of COVID-19, the government announced a movement control order MCO to curb with the further growth of positive cases in the country. Okay, so in view of the Islamic perspective, the jurists state that act of the government is connected to the legal maxim, la dara wala dirar, because without the precaution, more people might get harmed. So it's become our responsibility to follow the order, not only as a citizen, but as a Muslim.
And for the conclusion, what we can see, Prime Minister of Malaysia has taken a smart way to handle the economic problem that ensued the country during the outbreak. Then, as a Muslim, we can relate it with Islamic consumer behavior when we take the good side behind the COVID-19 problems as a learning process. And also, we can see through the Islamic view in regarding our own country when people start to help and care about each other, especially when the rich people help the poor community. That's all. Thank you.